Okay guys, well here's the new mill. I thought I'd just give you my initial thoughts. I'll insert a little clip. I showed a clip of it in the back of the pickup, still crated up, and then I pulled the crate off and I shot just a little walk around of that. Well, this is just a little bit of handheld, poor audio out here in the sunlight, but there's the crate. Got to come out of the pickup here this morning, so I think I'm going to go ahead. I popped the top out of the crate already. Looks pretty good from what I can see. I think to get it unloaded, I'm going to go ahead and pull the crate off right there, and that way I've got a little more control of everything as it comes out of the pickup and knows what's going on. Well, it looks like it arrived undamaged, and got the outer crate off of it, of course. But now we'll see if we can't get it out of the pickup and onto the ground. I spent most of the day, most of the morning, getting it unloaded carefully out of the back of the pickup, and I thought about time-lapsing it doing that. What I ended up and did was I just took the two of the 4x6s that I had used when I moved both the planer and the big Randmeyer lathe. Put them out the back of the pickup, braced them up underneath and everything, and then just slowly worked it down. And once I got it on the ground, we just threw it on some rollers and rolled it back in here. Now, one of the things that comes to mind right off the bat, and I kind of struggled with it for a little bit, is if you're bringing it into a building or a shop like I have here, for this model mill, which this is a G0755 is what it is. It's one of their bigger mill drills. Make sure that your door is big enough that will actually fit through the door, because that becomes a real problem when you have 32 inches from front to back here, 31 inches from the front of the cast chip pan to the back of the chip pan, and your door's only 31 inches wide. Why, it kind of creates a problem. I pulled the power feed off of one end and manually moved the table clear to one side, kind of cocked it around at an angle, got the table through the door to where I could shift it back to the other side, and rotated it through, and it came through. I didn't do any damage to anything. I may have a couple little scuffs here, but nothing that you can really tell. And but other than that, why, here it is. Now, I said I'd talk a little bit about why I had picked a Grizzly mill, and there's good and bad to that. I've actually been very happy with the mill drill that I had, that I converted to CNC, that now is broke down, which is why we're replacing it with this. But space constraints are one, and actually that's one of the main issues, is space constraints. Had I had a big shop where I could roll it in and everything, I would have bought maybe another Grizzly, but I would have bought a larger machine. So, and there's possibility of plans for this one down the road. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it performs and everything. But anytime that I consider any piece of machinery that you buy, whether it's new or used, to be a project. The only way they're really not a project is if it comes out of a shop that you've been working at, where you've been running that particular machine. You know the machine, you've got the tooling with it, and it's actually set up to do the work that you anticipate doing with it, or want it to do. Otherwise, if you buy a new machine, why, in the case of this, I don't really know what I'm getting. You know, it's a Chinese mill, is what it is. It's a Chinese import, and it may be a real piece of crap once we really get to measuring everything out and get to running it. I haven't even powered it yet. I've just spent the day getting it in here, and then I've had some other errands to run, so I've just now gotten back to it this evening. And I just thought I'd give you an initial walk around so you kind of got my initial impressions of it. But anyway, if you buy a new mill, you're going to have to buy tooling for it usually. And even if you've got quite a bit of tooling, why, you're still going to adapt specific tooling for it, or build or buy specific tooling for that machine. In this instance, I'm going to take virtually all my collets and most of the other things off of the other mill drill, and I'm going to adapt them to this. The digital readouts coming off of there and going to be mounted here. All of the collets I'm going to use for now, and you know, everything that I've set up for the other mill I can basically use on here. And there's a couple of pieces of tooling that I've got that are better adapted to this mill than they are the other mill, since I've CNC'd it. So, and if you buy a used machine, you don't know how well worn it is unless you've been running the machine. You know, I mean, you just don't know what you're getting. So, for me, it made sense to do this. I've got a brand new machine. I think it's going to be a good machine. If it matches the G0602, I'm going to be perfectly happy with it. You know, it's a relatively good value, and I got it here now. You know, and basically I needed a machine back in the shop to be running right now. You know, I screwed around with the other mill for a while. I wasted about a week messing with it until I decided that for what I wanted to do, it's not going to do the job. You know, I can make it work, but that's what I've been doing, is making it work. So it'll get converted fully to CNC, and there's going to be other parts that I rob off of that besides the digital readout. I believe the hand wheels will fit on this. I built those hand wheels when I originally got that. It had plastic hand wheels on it. So a lot of the comparisons that I'll give you are compared against the other mill drill. But it was a 25-year-old mill. So, you know, I bought it brand new 23, 25 years ago, something like that. So it's not a real good comparison, but it's what I've got for a comparison. Now, this does have steel hand wheels, and they are right here. We've just set one on. It'll work. You know, I'll stick them on there and make the tables go round and round. But I would imagine by tomorrow when I'm playing with it, I'll find out for sure if the other hand wheels are going to fit on there. They were adapted to the CNC cartridges to the ball screws, so they may take a little more work to them, or I may have to do something different with them. But basically, I think they'll fit right on here. So if they will, I built them, and they've got, you know, they're sleeved hand wheels, so the handles turn very nicely and rotate and everything. So, and they've got a better feel to them than these. These are functional, you know, and they're better than the plastic hand wheels that I originally got, but I'm not real impressed. As I said, I had the power feed off of there, and I've got it put back in place and readjusted. I do have to put the little covering back over it, which is just held on with a couple of set screws. So I'll set them out here so I don't forget them. Fit and finish is okay on it for a Chinese machine. You know, it's every bit as the same thing as the G0602 was. When I initially unpacked it, it was covered in plastic. Actually, I think I still had the plastic on it when I shot that little short walk-around video of it. The things I've noticed, there's a sticker on this side, the specification sticker with serial number and everything. It's a little bit loose at one corner. You know, it's just it's just a sticker. It doesn't really matter, but it kind of bothers me. We'll probably have to glue it back down. Got the same steel hand wheel up here. I notice on the ways here, these appear to have been surface ground, and then there's some sort of an attempt to add a little flaking for oil retention. Probably work perfectly fine. It's not hand scraped by any means, but the little bit that I turned them so far, they seem to be smooth. I haven't even pulled the oilcloth out, or the oil paper off of the table yet. Now, one of the things that I do notice about this that is going to be changed, and I knew it was going to be an issue before I even ordered it, is they show a table height of 34 inches. To me, that is way too low. Right now it's sitting on some 4x4s just to get it up a little bit, and I just rolled it in here on rollers. So I've got it up and on some 4x4 blocks to raise it up that high. So it's there like that. I did notice with the stand's got a sheet metal cover on both sides with some Allen head cap screws on them. I believe it's hollow underneath, so there's nothing finished in it. At some point, Wyatt will probably get those covers changed a little bit to where they're a little bit easier access, and probably put coolant tank down there or something like that. I do notice on the back of the stand why there's about 4 extra holes, and one of them appears to be tapped. They're all fairly large holes, but let's move this around a little bit closer here, see if we can get a little better view. We may be in too close here to really see everything we've got. There's the head. And I suppose we could pull this paper off of here and just see what we've got underneath. They've got accordion way covers. The original one just had a flat flap that hung down. They've set it up for coolant return, actually, and it looks to be a fairly substantial setup. They put a little screen here in the bottom, and they've got, looks to be about a 1/2 inch barbed fitting, just a steel barb fitting out the back, so you could run a hose for your coolant return. And they've done the same thing in the back of the drip pan. It's already drilled and tapped. Now I did get a bonus screwdriver. A bonus Phillips screwdriver was laying down underneath the base of the mill on top of the pallet. So it's made its way from China here. So I would imagine somebody got docked about 3 months' pay because they lost his screwdriver. But anyway, of course it's coated with cosmoline. I see a little washer laying down in here. The base of the mill was bolted with bolts up through the pallet, and they were double nutted so they could be locked in place. They all four spun free by hand. You know, I just took them off. Which makes no difference. Otherwise, the packing on it seemed to be good. It was bolted to the pallet and bolted to the pallet fine. Hadn't moved around in shipping. There were two little accessory boxes. One of them was this one that just had the hand wheels in them. They were wrapped in paper like that. And then the handles themselves, the little handles that they did with them, were in the toolbox that came with it. It came with a nifty little plastic toolbox, of course. And this was it had a piece of bubble wrap around it. They were both set on the pallet. There were just some drywall screws that were screwed down into the pallet to kind of hold them in position, and all it did was orient them. They didn't actually hold them in place, so it rode okay, you know, I mean, in all that time while it banged around. In the toolbox, you've got the normal wrenches. It does have a couple of T-slots for holding down a vise. Got two of those. Got a Morse taper key remover to remove the Morse taper tooling. It came with a R8 adapter to a Morse taper 3, maybe. I'll have to look and see. And then there's an adapter to take it down to, I believe it's a 2. Allen wrenches, a couple little washers in there that look like they do something. The new the standard high quality oil bottle, which there's the bottle, the lid's down here, and then the nozzle's floating around in the bottom. This is the other hand wheel here. There's a couple of wrenches, a 17-19 and a 22-24. Standard drill chuck, 1 to 13 millimeter. Got to be 16 taper on it. The adapter for it I see is in the quill. And these are this is a Morse taper 3 to a Morse taper 2. Standard Chinesium taper adapters. And then this is your R8 to a Morse taper 3. Yeah, R8 to a 3. I have already checked the oil in the headstock, and it's got a sight glass on the side here. I guess we could go. Let me move you clear to the other side of the mill so you can see that side of the head. Okay, standard mill drill fodder. You know, it's our fine feed clutch lock there. Loosen it, works as a drill press. Feels like the spring set a little bit stiff, but they factory set it, so I'll leave it there at least for now. Sight glass here showing oil level, and when they recommend when you run it in to go ahead and change the oil. I've already read the instructions. I downloaded them and sat and read them last night. I'm going to go ahead and run it in tonight, I think, which is 10 minutes at each speed. You know, it's a 6-speed gearbox, so I'll spend the next hour, hour and a half running in the head, and I won't show that on camera when we do it. But that's kind of my project for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and run in the head, and at the same time, I'll be cleaning up the machine. And I'm not going to change the oil tonight. I'll change it probably tomorrow and run it a little bit again tomorrow, and then go ahead and change the oil in the head. One thing I did notice is it takes an 8mm Allen screw and this is the fill cap right here, and underneath here someplace, I think, I'll have to look, I probably have to remove that cover to drain the headstock oil. This takes an 8mm Allen, and they didn't provide that there. I don't know what this great big Allen fits, but probably these, I would guess, maybe. Okay. But it doesn't fit the oil. Yeah, it fits all of these. Oh, it fits these smaller ones holding it down. I don't have one, and that took a little bit of a. We may have to tighten them just a little bit. These are for the base. I know I don't have the camera aimed down there, but this just fits the. So I got head cap screws that hold the base to the stand. Yeah, I can get a little. I'll have to go back and check all of the fasteners on it. But yeah, they didn't provide this. Of course, this is our cap for our drawbar, and it's not going to take me long at all. We'll get a little cheap power drawbar set up like's on the other mill. I think I've got an air cylinder for that. I'll have to pick up another little butterfly wrench. But anyway, everything looks okay. You know, I don't know over the next couple of days. Well, we'll get some indicators on it and see what it tells us. Now, I did notice on hand wheels, or the graduated dials on here, they've got the standard, you know, tighten your set screw, your thumb screw on it, set your dials. They did put the same dial underneath on the power feed. It doesn't have the thumb nut, but it does have the ring, which kind of surprises me that they would put that. The power feed itself is, it came on this model. You know, it came with the mill. I don't know that I would have ordered a power feed. I've got a power feed for the other one, chuck key, and the standard Chinesium chuck. I don't know if I would have ordered the power feed or not. On the other mill, I had power feed, and I used it a little bit, but in reality, I didn't use it that much to where I'm sure it was. I'm not sure that I could justify the expense of putting the power table feed on the x-axis. So, I guess all there is for me to do is just start cleaning up and putting it together. And I'm not going to bore you with that. We've got power up and down on the head, but they give you a hand wheel too. So, that's there. It's got limit switches, top and bottom, table limit switches. On the x-axis, I don't believe it does on the y-axis anyplace, which doesn't make any difference. They don't. Now, one of the things that I see, and they're consistent all the way around, that I don't really care for, they work fine, but I don't really care for them, I don't think, is the handles for the table locks. Well, all of the head lock and everything. They've got these little handles on here. And they work fine. You know, they're spring-loaded type things, so you can rotate them. If you locked it, you can pull them out and rotate it whatever position you want, and then unlock them and everything. They hit the ways for the y-axis there, and I don't know if they hit any place else or not. They won't on the head. It'll clear. And they hit the base casting on there's one of them for the y-axis here, and it hits the base casting. I don't know that, you know, in the big scheme of things, I don't think it makes a bit of difference. It's just kind of one of those niceties that I noticed right off the bat, and I don't think I like it. All in all, the machine looks pretty good. You know, I mean, it's an inexpensive import, relatively inexpensive import, and fit and finish on it is okay. Supposed to be a 2-horse motor. They've got they've got small horses in China, because the horses that would be in the motors up here are bigger horses. So anyway, all in all, looks to be a decent machine. It's a machine that I can have running and can be producing work with. So that was my main priority right now. So I don't have any complaints. You know, I've got complaints, but I don't have any real, you know, buyer's remorse at this point in time. Now that may change, but for what it is, I think I got a decent buy. I think maybe I've probably got a good mill. We'll see as time goes on. Anyway, I just wanted to give you my initial thoughts of it. I'm not going to edit very much of this. We're going to throw it out there on YouTube, and you can peruse it at your leisure. And maybe it'll help you in a future buying decision. I'll kind of take you along on all the stuff that's going to go on here, because it's the project for this week. I do notice they put a scale along the front, which kind of surprised me. But it's a, you know, looks to be another little useful thing, maybe. Yeah, see, we're hanging on the y-axis there. I got a table lock jammed here. So yeah, we'll have to make a few little changes to a lot of these things. I think there's room for improvement. But if I'd bought a used mill, why, there'd be room for improvement there too, whether it be repairing wear in it, whether it be just kind of upgrading it a little bit and making it my own. The other problem with finding a used mill is you don't know what you're buying, and I think the market's a little more limited. I could have found a Clausing probably, you know, maybe a Rockford, something like that. There's some smaller mills floating around, but a lot of the smaller mills that might have popped up on the used market that would have been appropriate for me are going to be import mills anyway. So anyway, I got a clean slate here we can start working with, and I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, get it wired up, powered up, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Anyway, hopefully you found this a little bit interesting. Comments, suggestions, leave them in the comment section for me below. And as always, guys, thanks for taking the time to watch.